Hi, it's Cassie with Rinea. I'm so excited today to share with you this mixed media canvas that I made, embossing and stenciling with the Rinea paper and also using ghost ink. So here we go. So first I cut it down. This is a marigold Rinea paper, and I cut it down to fit in the embossing folder. I believe it's about 5 by 7, and look at all of that beautiful detail. Oh, the embossing folders used with Rinea foiled paper are completely gorgeous and just outstanding. You need to give it a try. So next I have a stencil that was made to go with this embossing folder, and it just helps to highlight some of the detail in this flower. So I'm using ghost ink and a craft sponge, and I'm just going to cover that whole stencil and make sure I get in all those little cracks there to make sure I'm covering that whole flower. So then you'll see where that ink is after. It's kind of has like a whitish gray tone. I'm going to set it aside and let that ink dry. In the meantime, we're going to take our canvas board and cover just the edges with black gesso, because the foiled paper that I cut doesn't quite fit edge to edge on this board, and so I wanted to have a nice black matted frame. And so then I'm using wet adhesive, just working it around with my finger to get good even coverage. And then once that black gesso was dry, of course, and then I'm just sticking down that marigold foil paper. So now that that ghost ink has had time to dry, and if you notice, I've just got a paper towel here, and I'm just gently wiping away where that ink is, and it pulls that color from the Rinea paper up so that you're left with the silver that's underneath, and it is so beautiful. It's like magic. It's really fun to use and so cool, and gives it a really interesting distress sort of effect. So then I'm using a StazOn pigment ink. You can use any kind of ink that is made for non-porous surfaces, and I've just rubbed it direct onto the canvas just to pull out some more of the detail in the background from that embossing folder. And then I have like a lighter turquoise kind of aqua color over the top. It's hard to see in the video, but it really did add a little bit of highlight over that darker blue, because that blue ends up looking a little bit black. Anyway, so I have, this is just a chipboard phrase on top that I have, that I've cut it so that it fits onto my frame nicely, and that frame underneath is just made out of wood. It's just a wood laser cut piece. And I really wanted to have some of this turquoise starstruck foiled paper on top of that. I like the way the turquoise looks with the marigold. It's really, really pretty together. And I wanted it to fit perfectly on this wood piece. So I just really pressed it down to get a good impression so I could cut out around the edges. And it ends up fitting perfectly on top of that wood piece. I just used some wet adhesive again and moved it around with my finger. You don't need anything very thick, just a nice even coverage. Excuse me. And then you can stick down your foiled paper on top of there, and it will dry nicely and lay flat. I wanted to thwack the edges just to give them a little definition, so I'm using that same darker blue ink to go around the words, and that will help it pop more when it's on top of that frame. So now, just really putting everything together and finishing my layout, I added some adhesive to the back and wrapping some string around a few times. It's kind of that light aqua color, like a turquoise. That ties it back to that frame and brings it all together. And finally, to stick down the wood piece and the chipboard pieces to make sure that they're really going to stay in place and not move around or fall off or anything like that, you just want to use a heavy gel or paste. Any kind of mixed media gel or paste will work that you have in your stash. It doesn't have to be anything specific. And I'm working from the bottom up because I really want to make sure that that butterfly had a home on this frame. I think that it adds a nice touch, and make sure that all of the words in the phrase are placed where I want them. So my final finishing touch there, I have these two cute little hearts and that little binder clip to add to the bottom there, and my project is complete. Look at the ghost ink and what it does, how it lifts that color off of the foiled paper. It's so beautiful, and this ended up being a little bit more random, but you can be as specific or as random as you like, and it just really gives a really interesting look and feel to it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. For more inspiration, please visit Rinea.com, and don't forget to hit that subscribe link so you don't miss videos in the future. Thank you.